Hey everybody, Tony here with the very important hesitation lesson. This is something that I think is absolutely crucial that we can kind of tame and get over in our quote unquote trading journey. It's something that everybody experiences, and I'm going to highlight a few things that can kind of aid you in getting over this, and I'm also going to list the things that maybe the reasons we hesitate. Do not feel like if you are hesitating executing trades at the moment that you are alone. I guarantee you probably 80% or so of people in the group will still hesitate to take trades, even people that have experience. So do not feel like you are alone, and I really think this lesson will help you, but you really need to apply this and take everything I'm saying into consideration. If I start listing things off and you're like, oh, that's not me, but in actuality, it probably is you. We just need to hold ourselves accountable. If we've only been trading for a short amount of time, I can't expect people to not hesitate. It's just a part of the process. I was in your exact same position, and so was every other trader that's ever traded the stock market. That's just a part of the journey, and it's something that we all need to get over. So how about we get into why we hesitate? I want to highlight a few key points that I feel are important. So the first thing, and probably the most important, is that we do not have a plan. Okay. And what do I mean by plan? I mean that we have no idea the way we want to trade. We don't know what is our niche in the market. We don't really know what we're comfortable with trading. We kind of just blindly buy other people's call outs, or we start chasing with no clear exit or entry strategy. And this is absolutely crucial. We need to create a plan that works for ourselves. Nobody's plan is going to be identical, okay? Some people like to play options. Some people like to scalp options. Some people like to scalp commons. Some people are swing traders. It all really comes down to what you're most comfortable with trading and kind of creating a rule set around that. So, for example, if I know that I'm primarily scalping options at the moment, I know in the back of my mind that, okay, when I'm scalping options, there can be a lot of volatility. I could be up and down 20% within the same 5-minute candle. So I must know that I need to be paying attention if I'm scalping options. I can't take a position, go make lunch, come back, because that is the fastest way to get your account blown up. You need to know, okay, if I have work today, and I'm going to be preoccupied for the first half of the day, I cannot trade that first half of the day if I want to scalp options, because I don't have the ability to be, or look at my phone, be at my setup, whatever it may be, and good chance you miss out on profit, or you miss out on cutting something if it goes against you, and that's how we get into big holes. So absolutely, we must have a plan. The second thing is we are afraid to fail. And what do I mean by this? Well, I know a lot of us, or a lot of people in the group, are afraid to fail due to the fact that we failed in the past. And this kind of goes back to having a plan. If we don't have a plan, and we just keep failing over and over, that's kind of the definition of insanity. We should not be afraid to fail if we have a plan. If you have a plan that maybe you've ran it by me, or maybe you found success with in the past, and you know it's proven to work, sometimes a trade is just going to go against us. Sometimes we will just fail, or that trade will go against us, and there is nothing we can do. If you have a solid plan that works for you, you cannot be afraid to fail. If you enter a trade and it immediately goes against you, you absolutely must cut that trade. If you've lost the last 3 trades in a row, but you know your plan is proven and it works, you cannot let that deter your confidence. It's human nature for that to kind of give you some hesitation, but it's so important that, like I said, if we have a plan that works, we cannot be afraid to fail. Some of the best traders in the world have a 40% win rate. The thing that makes them successful is they immediately cut losers when it goes against them, and they know how to get the most out of their winning trades. So we cannot be afraid to fail. The third thing is over-analyzing the trade before we make it. And what exactly do I mean by this? Well, for example, say we're looking at entering a trade, and we start to have thoughts in our mind that are like, okay, well, I see the bear case for this. Maybe I want to take puts, but I see how there can be a bull case. And we start kind of second guessing or how we want to approach this trade. This will lead into my next point about risk to reward. But if we're overanalyzing the situation and we're in our head and we're unsure, okay, I'm not too confident in taking this because I can see both scenarios play out, then you can't take the trade. You have to be overly confident in your thesis behind why you want to take this trade and in what direction you want to take this trade. Once we start overanalyzing the situation and getting in our head, that's a recipe for failure. So we cannot overanalyze the situation. We don't want to make things harder than they have to be. Like I've said before, trading is 95% in your head. Once we get good at it and once we have more experience, we will start to realize that it's not really as complicated as we once thought it was. So overanalyzing the situation is something that will get you killed in the market. And my last point in regards to why we hesitate is we don't know the risk to reward. Okay? Before we take any trade, and before I personally take any trade, whether it's the night before, on a Sunday, when I'm making the watch list, I analyze what my risk to reward is in terms of, okay, if I want to take puts on this, is it a high risk trade or is it a low risk trade with a lot of reward? If I want to take calls, is it a bit riskier with a lot of reward? Is it not so risky with not a lot of reward? You want to analyze that and be like, okay, I'm trying to look for the highest reward trades possible with minimal risk. We don't want to be taking high risk, high reward trades. We want to be taking lower risk with higher reward trades. An example of this would be, say something is testing 52-week lows. We can take a good guess that if that confirms under and makes a new 52-week low, chances are that probably flushes pretty good. We know this is a minimal risk trade. Another example of that is using supply and demand. Okay, supply and demand is a roadmap for you. Say you want to take calls on a demand bounce. Okay, we know if we enter calls within demand, we must exit that trade under that demand level. So weighing the risk to reward before jumping in is an absolute must. It is absolutely crucial. If we're going chasing things that have been in an uptrend for 2 hours, and we take calls on that, like we've talked about before, if you go chasing something in either direction, the increased probability of that trade turning and reversing, it continues to get higher. So we must know the risk to reward before we take trades. So these are some of the reasons why we hesitate. Now I would like to go over some reasons or some things that we can do kind of as solutions to get rid of our hesitation. Let me just erase this quick, guys. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with a mouse and keyboard, so it's not exactly the easiest thing. But yes, let me get rid of this. What can we do? Okay. To work on our hesitation. The first thing, let me get rid of this. Can I not erase that? Whatever. The first thing, like I talked about before, is creating a plan. Like I mentioned before, creating a plan, guys, is the most important thing we can do. We need to find what we're comfortable with. If we're comfortable trading options, then that's what we need to roll with. But we must create something that works for us. Do you prefer scalping options? Do you prefer kind of swinging options? Do you prefer holding them for a little bit longer, taking longer expiration dates? Do you work a full-time job and are unable to scalp them, and it's more beneficial if you kind of take longer dated expirations? So this kind of is a reflection of us and what happens or what's happening in our life as well. If you have time to stare at your screen all day and trade from home or from your phone or whatever it may be, then you have more opportunity in the sense of finding something that works for you. If you are busy with work, like I said, probably scalping options, if you know you're probably not going to be able to be at your setup or your phone, are probably not the move. Same with scalping commons, same with anything that would require a lot of attention. So we must create a plan, find something we're comfortable with trading, and go from there. The second thing is backtest, guys. We need to be backtesting our plan. We need to be looking at a chart, predicting what's going to happen. Okay, maybe you don't even make the trade, but you're just looking at a chart. You say, okay, I see a bull flag forming. I think this is going to break out of this. Okay, these are my trigger levels for the day. This is where I would look to enter. Maybe I don't play with real money, but maybe I just look to see how that scenario plays out. We need to be backtesting our ideas and our plan to see, okay, how often does this play out? How often does my plan play out? Does my plan work 80% of the time, 60% of the time, 20% of the time? If we're finding that our plan is super successful, then that's what we should roll with. If we're finding, maybe my levels are off, or maybe something's off within my plan, I have like a 40% win rate, maybe we should try to work on that and perfect that. So absolutely, we must backtest. Risk to reward, guys. The risk to reward, like I mentioned before, should be high reward to minimal risk, or as high reward to minimal risk as we possibly can get. You're not always going to be taking A+ setups that are very low risk. Sometimes you might take a riskier setup, but you just need to be aware of that and analyze that before you jump into that trade. The next point, guys, please start small, especially when we're figuring out what plan works for us. It is so important, guys, that in the first year, 2 years, whatever it may be, we're trying to survive, okay? We're not trying to get rich. If we approach this like it's a get-rich quick scheme, or like it's the casino, or we're playing the lottery, we're set up for failure, and we'll never be able to be successful long term. I know for a fact people message me, oh, this is my plan and this is what I'm looking at for the week. How do you think I should approach this? And the advice I always give is start small. If you play options, take one contract, take a cheap contract of something. If you scalp commons, take a couple shares. Guys, the best thing we can do is start extremely small, something we're more than comfortable with. If we're taking position sizing that is way too big for our accounts or what we're comfortable with, we are going to be undisciplined with our rules. As soon as we see red, we're going to want to cut it, and we're not analyzing the chart. So I implore you guys, when you're creating a plan and trying to figure out what works for you, please start small. It's essential in finding a strategy that works. Another thing, guys, journal our trades. Journal every single trade we make, success or not. Honestly, the best ones to journal are the ones that we fail on, so we can see, okay, maybe I took 10 trades in a week. 5 of them I made the same mistake. Maybe 5 of those trades I took a bad entry or I chased something. By journaling our trades, guys, we can go again and look, okay, what happened, what went wrong, and what do I need to work on moving forward? It is so important. Every single person, I don't care what your experience is. I don't care if you've been trading for a month or 4 years or whatever it may be. Journal your trades, guys. It's not hard. It takes a minute to do. Please, whether it's a physical journal or an online journal, whatever it is, if it's an Excel sheet, a notebook, please journal our trades. It is so important. Whether you want to put it in report cards, which is essentially what the channel is for, I implore everybody, please journal your trades. Plan, guys, the night before. We should be planning the night before, okay? Excuse my handwriting, it's not the best. We need to create a plan for the following trading day, whether it's the night before or pre-market, whatever it is. Pick your targets and narrow that down to 2 or 3 things and then execute. If we go into each day with no plan, we have no clue what we're going to play, we're just waiting for me to put an alert out, that's not what this is about. That's not what this group is about. That's not what trading is about. You can't ride the coattails of somebody else's alerts. You'll never learn. You're simply relying on somebody else to trade. This is why this group was created, so we can all learn actually how to trade and how to be successful on our own. If the only thing you're here for is alerts from myself, then I suggest going somewhere else, because this is not an alert service. You need to have a plan for yourself. If you do not have a plan and you're just relying on myself or others, this is not the place for you, and you're not going to find success long term. I can guarantee that. The last thing, guys, no bias. Ever. We never, ever should have any bias, especially in the current market. There is no reason for us to have any bias. When we go into a day with bias, that's when we're going to get destroyed. That's when we're going to start losing a lot. Those losses are going to add up, and that's going to kind of drive our account down. So every single day is a new opportunity, and that's how you should treat it as such. No bias. Whether we're in a downtrend for 4 months, okay, and we're headed into a new week, and you think, oh, we're just going to keep continuing in the way we've been. No, you have your levels charted in either direction and execute the plan you've created. Whether you play options, whether you play commons, it doesn't matter. All these rules are intertwined with no matter how you play. So I really implore you guys to take this lesson into consideration. Make note of the points I've made, because I promise you these will help you. Start small, guys. If you have been experiencing hesitation, start small. This week, buy 1 contract, buy a couple shares, and just test your plan and see how it plays out. Start with a very minimal amount of money, and I promise you, you will find success. So yeah, guys, I hope this lesson was of use, and I really hope you guys can apply some of these things I went over. Thanks, guys.